The physics simulation was so fun, and like you saw that clip of Morgan Freeman.
Gordon?
Huh? Good Lord.
Huh?
My brain is leaking out of my ears.
The way you're positioned right now, Chase, it really makes you feel like you're in the pod chamber with you, because you had to kind of like hunch over to do this. You're like the hunchback of Podstradam.
For listeners, my mic arm is fucking up, and so I had to like sort of position it to the point where my mic is like pointed downward, almost falling towards the ground. Sort of look like one of those old-timey like monks or something holding like a tiny lantern, like wandering around my church.
A hunchback.
Who goes there in the dark?
An old pod hunchback. I have to use that nice neck decompression pillow after this.
I know, yeah. I mean, I really should just like kind of chill, because it is overwhelmingly hot in my pod room. Oh, wait, no, yeah, here we go.
There you go.
Here we go.
All right, so Chase has evolved from a bent-over old crone to just the biggest bro who ever broed.
Yeah, I put my seat back, and now I think scientists call this chilling.
He's chilling.
Wow.
I see it.
This is good. I wonder what sort of energy this is going to bring, because like I said, it's overwhelmingly hot in the pod room. Just to peel this curtain back, I know everybody's dying to know about our pod production information. All the fans are clamoring. The room that I record this podcast in faces the sun when the sun goes down, and so in the so steamy, not really, Seattle summers, this room just bakes. So it is a bracing experience recording the pod, but here we are. I'm relaxing. What sort of interesting summer spirit is this going to bring?
The summer spirit of Podtimism, you say?
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'll be taken over by the spirit at some point. Or I'll just invite them over.
We've had them on the show before, haven't we?
We have, yeah. I believe the summer spirit was the first one.
He's also the one who opened that window in your room in Persona 5.
I guess that's true, yeah. That you can see the trappings of the summer spirit whenever you really feel summer in a video game. Mm-hmm. Or whenever you appreciate video games in the summer. Like we're about to do on this show called Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming.
No, it's for two best friends. This is only for us.
Honestly... a little bit. All right,
everybody else, get out.
Oh, you need to leave. Clear the room.
This is a private pod tonight, boys.
I'll publish this podcast and then immediately take it down so people know that it exists, but then it's just for you and me.
The missing 66th episode.
Boy, howdy, it's warm in here. I'm struggling to produce a thought. Okay. Video games. Hello.
Wait, who are you?
Oh, fuck. I didn't even finish the intro, David.
I'm sorry. I derailed you.
No. You put me back on the rails. I had derailed myself and was driving onto a completely different place. Here, let me just give you one from the top. It's the Optimists video game variety show, where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. And, in fact, my name is Chase, and I still like it hot.
You still like
despite how warm it is.
That's impressive.
Right here.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm David. I also still like it hot, but it's been gloomy here in Santa Barbara recently.
We switched climates.
The gloom has traveled south. This is the stereotypical June gloom of Santa Barbara this time of year.
The gloom has come.
May gray and June gloom is my annual reminder that I don't know if I could live in the Pacific Northwest, because it's just makes me so sad.
Yeah, I hear that. I also don't know. See, up in Seattle, we get June Recoome, which is when Recoome, the member of the Ginyu Force, comes and invades Seattle. It's a really tough time of year, honestly.
June Recoome! That was my best Recoome impersonation.
Honestly, I think that was close. I don't really remember what Recoome sounds like.
It sounded just, I don't know how else to say this, but he sounds more stupid.
Yeah.
Like he's a big buffoon. He's a big buffoon. Let's say it's that way.
Like of all the members of the Ginyu Force, he's definitely the dumbest.
I also, for some reason, definitely watched that clip of Dragon Ball Z where Goku comes and just beats the ever-loving crap out of Jason Birder on YouTube the other day. And I was enthralled the whole time. It's so good still.
It is quite good. I wonder how many people are going to understand what the fuck we're talking about. But regardless, they market Birder as like the fastest member of the Ginyu Force.
I think they said he's like the fastest man alive or something like that. Fastest thing alive, I guess I should say.
Yeah, there's something around that, and fucking and our boy Goku comes out of nowhere and just outspeeds him, which is just so cool. I understand why they have to table set like where Goku's like beaten and like out of commission for like the first couple episodes of every season, because they're like, we really need to like beat the shit out of everybody else so that you understand how cool it is that how
good Goku is.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z. Maybe we should make DBZ Podtimism.
Separate cast.
Yeah, our sister cast.
It's just us.
Still
just us.
Maybe in that one we'll get distracted and talk about video games.
Maybe. Who knows?
Speaking of which, have you been playing those?
Video games?
Yeah.
I have.
Can you tell me about those, please?
Yeah, so I've still been playing Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
It's good. I enjoy it. It's so different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so different than other games. Really makes you think in different ways and interact with the game in different ways than is typical of a game.
Sure.
So I'm still enjoying that as kind of like my breath of fresh air game every now and then. I've also been playing Hades Still. I've gotten all but one of the hidden aspects.
Sure. Okay.
And I still don't think I'm any closer to figuring out how Eurydice and Orpheus and everybody else, all the different stories end. And then I was watching like a playthrough of the game on YouTube where some guy had like summons of like Meg and Sisyphus. I'm like, how do I get to summon them? And so now I'm going to have to play through to get the summons of them as well.
Yeah.
I'm guessing I'm just going to have to like give them a lot of nectar.
I think that's
and
a
then
pretty
eventually
good guess.
like an ambrosia.
That's probably a pretty good guess too.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to keep on playing this game a lot more. But it's okay because I just play it when I'm biking now.
Sure.
It really gets me fit as a fiddle. You know, it's like 2 or 3 playthroughs of Hades. That's maybe like an hour 20, an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how fast I'm going.
A good workout's length.
A good workout's length of just cranking that resistance up to 8. All the way to 8.
Yeah, pushing.
Just let it do its thing.
Collecting boons for your legs.
Collecting boons for my legs. Gonna be
Got
fast.
Leg boons.
I'm gonna be fast as Hermes after this.
What kind of boons do you think you would get if you were like walking into the gym collecting boons?
Like what boons would I be offered, or which boons I would want?
Which ones would you be offered? Well, like what are the gods sending down if you're collecting gym boons?
Gym boons. So they want me to do well at the gym.
Kinda. They do still have beef with you in a weird way, but they are still kind of like they're trying to offer you their power. This is for exactly 3 people. This part of the podcast.
Pretty much. I guess Poseidon seems like the bro out of the bunch, so he'd probably give me like a sweet cut-off tank. Let me show off my biceps real good.
It would be cool to get like auto hydration though. Like you don't have to drink water.
That's what the tank does. Shows off your buys, and it also rehydrates your body. It just shoves your sweat back into you, but takes the the salt out. So it's just water. So your tank top is just so salty afterwards. It's just like a brick.
Flattened stiff mess.
Afterwards. No, maybe it like has some sort of magic where it just dispels the salt. How about that?
Or you can just leave some salt behind you.
Just walk around just dropping salt.
Yeah, no big deal.
That's just my man salt. Oh, that sounds bad. That's just my body salt? My human salt?
I think body salt's probably the least gross out of the options.
Body salt? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good one. What would you get?
What's his name? Dionysus?
The
like a very sexy wine man.
Very, very sexy wine man. Dionysus here.
It would be cool to be able to go to the gym and like have a White Claw and that be my hydration or something, or like make me stronger somehow.
Hey there, man. I see you're at the gym and you don't have a White Claw in your hand. That's my best Dionysus from Hades impersonation.
I feel like that was pretty good, honestly.
I feel like they were just going for like Taika Waititi is what I get whenever I hear him talk in that game.
Sure. Just non-New Zealand Taika.
Yeah, just like bro-y Taika.
Taika's a gift. Dude's really good.
What a legend.
What else have you been playing?
And the thing I've been playing the most has been Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
It's a good video game still.
It's quite good. It's quite good.
Tell me about your experience with it now.
Well, it's interesting because it's just kind of more of the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's just a grander scale than any other Ratchet and Clank game. has been on before. It really seems like this generation is really going to let developers really realize their ambitions and grand schemes for like set pieces.
Yeah.
Because just some of the things that I've seen in this game so far, it's like, damn.
Pretty unbelievable, yeah.
If this is like coming out on a game just a couple months into its lifespan, that's pretty damn good. Like some of the set pieces in this game are incredible.
I can't remember if I was listening to either Triple Click or the Besties, I'm not sure which, but one of them was talking about how at the same point essentially that like you don't see this sort of like prowess until sort of the end of a console's lifespan, but it's really crazy that it's now like that they dropped this big of a bomb so early in the console life cycle.
It's gonna be hard to top for a bit. But it's got me hyped for like the next God of War, the next like Uncharted, whenever that comes out, just based off of what you can render and how good things look.
Yeah, it's
like
true.
People were kind of disappointed with this generation's graphics when they first saw like all the trailers for the games.
Yeah.
But man, when you see it in motion in person,
it
is a different experience. It is so good. Like this could not have been done on the PlayStation 4 without a doubt. No way could you have done this on the PlayStation 4. At least not looking this good.
I mean, like it would look fine, but not this crazy. Yeah. Not this well.
So it's like that's the first time that I'm like, wow, this is like playing a Pixar movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like playing a Pixar movie, and I'm feeling like, is Ratchet and Clank like Sony's Mario at this point? Could they become Sony's Mario? Just like a good action platformer that always delivers.
I mean, maybe like that's. I'm trying to think of the other comparison points, but like kind of. I feel like whenever they put out a Mario, it's like almost guaranteed to be kind of a banger, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like that particular flavor, usually like it finds a home somewhere. You know, like I know that some people don't love Sunshine, but there's still a lot of people who are like, this is incredible. And like it still feels great, regardless of if you didn't like the like flood mechanics or any of the water stuff. But like still feels good to jump, man.
Still do.
And so like, I wonder if like every time they put out a Ratchet and Clank, it'll be this good, because they didn't show that much restraint in like the PS2, PS3 area. They were cranking these games out.
They really were, yeah.
And like, I enjoyed that, but I wouldn't say that the caliber is nearly as high as like, every Mario release.
Did you play any of the PS3 Ratchet and Clanks? I kind of skipped over all of those, honestly.
Yeah, I looked up a list of them the other day, and I was like, holy shit, I missed most of these.
There was like 4 of them on the PS3.
Yeah. I think I played one of them. I don't remember which one it was, but I do remember playing like something in the early like kind of 2010s era that I think was on PS3. But other than that, I don't think I played almost any of it.
There was like,
which is wild.
What, Tools of Destruction, A Quest for Booty, A Crack in Time.
Yeah.
A Quest for Booty was weird because it was like a short game. It was like a download only, but it was important to the story. So they were doing weird things with the brand for a second there, but I think now they're back on track with making it like a touchstone type of game.
I hope so. And I think like they're probably just more used to that at this point, with like the release schedule of the Sony games tend to be a little bit more like, they tend to be more sparse than they were, I think, especially in the PlayStation 2 and PS3 era.
Yeah.
For these kind of games. And so like, hopefully, I do hope they show the same amount of restraint, because like, I feel like they don't put out a Mario unless they're like, we have something really cool and really new, or like a follow-up to one of the best games we've ever done, Like,
yeah, that's true.
They did a couple of the Mario Galaxies there, but each one of them was like, damn, that is a pretty significant shift on the formula of the last one.
They're both so good.
They're both very good. Yeah. So like, and I think 2 is better than 1. So it's not like they're like, well, let's just do a cash grab and get another one out there.
I'm hoping that's what happens with Breath of the Wild. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be cool. I have no idea how, but like, I wasn't sure how Breath of the Wild would work. So, we'll see. Maybe you play as Ganon. Who knows? Have you seen those conspiracy theories?
No.
That
I think you're gonna play as Ganon?
Yeah, that like you like somehow get taken over by like Ganon's perspective, and I don't know, like he sees the a different perspective or something, and so you're playing as Ganon throughout the game rather than Link.
No.
Who knows, Dave?
You're Link.
We'll see. He's wearing a weird thing over his shoulder that maybe only Ganon wears, I think.
So he's going to be Link possessed by Ganon?
Honestly, David, these are conspiracy theories based on tweets. So like, I got no evidence for you.
I don't trust no Twitter conspiracy theories.
I mean, that's probably for the best.
Ever since Damnation was shown to be a falsehood.
I know.
I wanted that so bad.
Me too. I would put a sound from that album, Kendrick, here if he were to release one.
Boo boo. It's just boo boo.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank good is the point there.
Yeah, it's really good. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
System seller, I would say.
For sure.
If they had any systems to sell. Come on, Sony.
Which they do. It's still selling incredibly well. They're just running out of stock almost immediately.
What's going on? What's going on there, guys?
Just chip shortages and global pandemics.
It's true. COVID stuff. I get it, Chase. Get it.
It's Podtimism, baby. We got to understand the nuances.
I get it. The nuances of the world and life.
Are those the only games you're playing?
That's been it. Yeah.
Sweet. Can you invite me into the segment?
What have you been playing, Chase?
Thank you for inviting me into the segment.
You're welcome. Chase is a video game vampire.
Please bring me inside.
I cannot enter unless you invite me in.
I can't talk about the video games I've been playing unless you invite me, please. I feel like I'm imposing.
I only wish to share.
Let me get a hand on that Ratchet and Clank ball because I've also been playing mostly that.
Oh, it's so good.
It's very good.
You texted me about that level in which you felt euphoric.
Yeah.
I played that one last night.
It is the level, I won't say anything else, but it's the level with the fixer is the thing. Absolutely incredible. The whole thing from start to finish is just like awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of highs in this game. I've now beaten it, which is like it's not a particularly long game.
No, I feel like I'm getting kind of close.
Yeah, I suspect so. There's still a lot of good stuff in there. But yeah, it's not a huge game. I'm pretty close to platinuming it, which I don't think I've done for any PlayStation game.
I think that's just an Insomniac thing because I think I remember a lot of people saying that Spider-Man was the only game that they platinumed on PS4.
I think it's, from my understanding, I think they push accessibility pretty hard with like, we want people to be able to achieve everything in this game without it being like so onerous that like you just can't do it, which I can appreciate. Like that they have a ton of accessibility in the options, which I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. From just like, I don't want to do the puzzles or like, I don't want to have to like, do X, Y, or Z like technical challenge. And they like allow for that. So there's a lot of variability in it rather than like, I want to play on easy, And so I think all of that's really, really cool. I also noticed there's like these like sections where you play as like a little like spider virus killing thing named Glitch. Yeah.
Very cute character, by the way.
Very cool, yeah. Love that. And then also other ones where you're playing as Clank and you're like solving these like almost tower defense like puzzles where you're trying to like get enough Clanks to one end of the room to another. If you don't want to play those, you can just press start and click skip puzzle. I thought that was really cool.
Can you really?
Yeah, you just don't have to do it. It's just for fun. Like I was doing them and upon replaying I was like trying to get through the game really quickly because I was like, I just want to get to this part and like get this one little thing that I need. And I happened to press start on one of these and I was like, I can just skip this entirely and just, kicks you right out. Doesn't have, like, I love that the game is like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Like, we're just here to party. Just have a good time with this video game.
That's awesome.
Skip the parts you don't like.
Ratchet and Clank, we're here to party.
Seriously, it's a really great game for that. So I love that part of it. I'm interested to talk about it with you probably once you beat it. Like, I think we'll probably do a little bit longer of an episode just about that. Because there's so many there's a lot of stuff that comes up for me just around like, what actually like timeless game design means, if there is such a thing.
Sure.
Because like this game is not that different than what it was in 2003 or whatever.
It's true.
But it's still so much fun and like feels very modern. So like there's just a lot of stuff that a lot of very fart sniffing thoughts to be plumbed there.
I'm ready to sniff some farts on this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it.
Yeah.
What difficulty are you playing it on?
Just normal.
I played it on one notch above normal, and I think it's just right to give me a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but I like something in my like gamer ego cracked a little while ago, and like I stopped giving so much of a shit about like a game being hard, especially in a game like Ratchet and Clank. I feel like so much of what I enjoy is just like wiping dudes out and like having a fun time and seeing where the story is going.
That's real.
Like I go to like, Bloodborne or something like that if I want to get my ass kicked, because like the difficulty there feels adjustable to, and like for almost everything else I'm like, I kind of just want to like play through the story and see what happens. No shade on like obviously on booting up the difficulty or anything like that, just like I've found myself taking it down to easy pretty regularly. Yeah, because like I don't know, fuck the whole perception of like, you're a real gamer if you're playing on story mode. Wah, wah.
Nothing wrong playing on exploration mode. I think I did that for Divinity.
Yeah, fuck, I should play on exploration mode in Divinity, dude. Getting my ass kicked in that video game.
It's still challenging enough.
I'm sure it will be for me because I'm clearly pretty butt at that video game.
I'm curious to play it on that difficulty now.
I mean, I'll give it a go again. This will be my 5th or 6th time starting up Divinity Original Sin 2.
It's just that I play with Mal and I online.
Yeah, true. The pros, the professionals.
We'll get it going good.
Bring in the ringers.
We played 1 and 2, so...
Yeah, you guys are real fans. That's true. Anyway, Ratchet and Clank, good game. We'll probably talk more about it at some point. I'm also playing a little bit of Mass Effect. I haven't been playing nearly as much just because of Ratchet and Clank. I played through the Citadel DLC that came out, or not came out, but it was included in the Legendary package. Mm-hmm. It's like just some thing that happens. There's clones involved, which was pretty fun. Yeah, and that's been pretty fun. I think my focus has just been so heavily on Ratchet and Clank that I haven't been able to get too much into Mass Effect. But all that said, I think I'm probably at least halfway through 3, and I do kind of want to close it out to just get a concise sort of feeling about the series as a whole, because I've been playing this game for a month and a half straight, or however long it's been since it came out.
Did you play Mass Effect 4 Andromeda? Did you play it?
I was thinking about this the other day. I tried it and kind of lost interest. It just, it's not nearly as gripping immediately. I also read the plot synopsis the other day and I was like, I don't know.
Not for you.
I don't know if I need this. The stakes are just so high in Mass Effect, the 1 through 3. And so if you're going to do a smaller story, I think that is cool, but it sounds like they were kind of just doing a medium story and it didn't sound quite as interesting to me.
Is it BioWare even?
It was BioWare.
Sad.
I know. I think it was handled by a different part of BioWare, but still, not to throw shade on anybody making it, but yeah, it didn't grip me nearly as hard as these ones have. So I'd be interested in playing it and seeing just is this really quite as rough as I was as I had experienced, or was that just the hype cycle around this game and it actually not being that bad, or what? But maybe I'll give it a go.
For real cheap, I bet.
It's probably quite cheap. I think I have it on something, so I should be able to play it. I have also been playing 2 other games. Ooh. One of them is called Roguebook. David,
is it a deck building roguelike?
You got it, baby.
God, you are just
insatiable.
You are absolutely insatiable.
They just keep coming out with good ones is my issue. If any of these games were bad, I would stop playing them. But
they're not my fault. They just keep on putting them in front of me.
Roguebook is, in fact, I feel like I need a shortening just to because I bring this up every single week. People are probably tired of hearing me say the phrase deck building roguelike, but here we are.
It's a chase game.
It's a chase game. Let me lay claim to all of these video games.
I mean, you pretty much have already. I don't know if there's anybody else. Well, there probably is, but how many other people in this world have played this many deck building roguelikes?
Weirdly enough, I feel like the people who I talk to that also like deck building roguelikes are just as nuts about playing as many of these. So it's either somebody will have never even heard of what the fuck Slay the Spire is, or somebody's like, hey, what were your top 10 deck building roguelikes of the last year?
Is there really that much variety between them that makes them feel different?
I'd say yes. It feels like, you know how there's a lot of platformers that were coming out in the early 2000s, or a lot of shooters in sort of the mid 2000s. It feels sort of like that, where the base kind of mechanic or the core of it is kind of similar from game to game, wherein drafting and building decks is part of all of these, but they all bring enough of a twist to it that I think it is pretty good and pretty enjoyable. I've stuck with certain deck building roguelikes longer, and so I think when you're speaking to quality with these games, it's less about is this fun, because to me they all are pretty fun. It's just when you're speaking about quality, I think longevity is really the question. How long is this game going to be fun for you?
Longevity.
Is it Jevity?
I think so.
I don't fucking know, dude. It's so hot in this room I could barely remember the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Sorry. I'm being an ass. Continue.
No, you good, baby. If I don't get it from you, I'll get it from the internet, so it's fine. So something like Slay the Spire, or I played Dicey Dungeons for a long time too. I think Griftlands I played for quite a while, and those sort of games, because they are replayable in a way that feels fun still, I think that's what makes a good one.
Sure.
But to me, they're all still very fun. Even if I don't, constantly play these games, I've enjoyed most of them.
Gotcha.
I think just because it is still pretty novel and pretty interesting just to play through these. So anyway, Roguebook is a deck building roguelike. How does this game play? So you go into a book and you have
you're in the book this time.
You're in the book and there's like sort of an overworld like most of these games. It's pretty like stylized and looks really good. Like I think the art is really compelling and looks great. So there's like this overworld and your path is not really like defined for you. And the way that you get to the boss is there's all these like sort of undiscovered tiles in the space, and it like discovers a few for you at the beginning. And then what you'll have to do is like go up against the edge of the map that you can see and like use your little like ink quill essentially, and it'll reveal different tiles around you to sort of like go explore different parts of the map. And so like the loop of the game is like, okay, I've got the tiles that I can see. I have this kind of like ink quill thing that'll reveal 2 tiles to my left or 2 tiles to my right or something like that. And you go and use that, and then something will appear there. It's either like nothing or coins or a battle that you can go fight other people with, or like, you know, NPCs, not like actual people. And then from there you can draft cards from things that show up on the map, and your cards get a little bit better over time. It plays a little bit like Steam World Quest in the way that like you have different characters that you're using at any time, and you can like use in your party, and each of them come with like an entirely different deck. And so you can sort of like, you know, use different layouts and different like characters to sort of complement one another. It's a little bit like Monster Train in that way too. You have to pick like two characters there. Are you laughing at my vast knowledge of deck building roguelikes?
I definitely am. It's quite impressive.
They're good video games.
I believe you. It's
I know.
Not my cup of tea, but I love that you love them. It's great.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Thank you. So I
love
think
what you love, bro.
Oh, absolutely. So there's that. It also plays, it feels a little bit like Darkest Dungeon. I feel like the other 2 comparison points, Darkest Dungeon wasn't a deck building roguelike, so maybe a different video game to compare it to.
Yeah.
But just in like the kind of battle system and how like enemies line up and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, pretty fun. I think like it is one of the more polished of these games that I've played in a little while. What's tickled you over there?
Just your vast knowledge still. And now I'm thinking like, does he need to go to like a deck building roguelike con somewhere? Is there a convention?
If they have one, I will certainly go.
There's gotta be.
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
Maybe not the COVID times, but
sure.
Post-COVID time, maybe you need to start one, Chase. Maybe you should be the guy.
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility if it doesn't already exist. Yeah.
Cosplay is your favorite deck building roguelike.
Just the video game cover.
Your favorite characters from it, right?
Well, I'm gonna be the cover of Slay the Spire, baby. That's just what it is.
How do you? What's on the cover of Slay the Spire?
It's probably got the spire on it, if I had to guess. Anyway, Roguebook Good is the name of this segment that I've just shown to you. I think it's coming out for Switch in a little bit, so if you're interested, I think that's probably a good place to pick it up because it feels like a good roguelike for a Switch. Anyway, the final game that I'm playing, I dipped my toes back in. To Hollow Knight.
Whoa!
David. Oh yes, Hollow Knight. It's on Game Pass. So
that game was so good.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I got the Void Heart edition on PlayStation for free, and I always toy with like, should I just go just dip my toesies back in a little bit?
That's where I was yesterday. I was kind of poking around Game Pass, just seeing like, what do we got? I downloaded fucking City Skylines for about 5 minutes.
You didn't get into an energy crisis?
Not yet. I'm sure that's coming, but I didn't play it that much. I did play a lot of Hollow Knight though, because it is also on Game Pass.
Oh, it's so good.
I only ever played it on Switch, which was like handheld, and like it just looks really nice on a big old screen. Runs really well. So anyway, yeah, it's really good. I had sort of a weird experience with it the first time that I had played it, because I played it on Switch for like a second. Like I got into like the first zone and I was like, I think this is either too hard or I'm way lost. Admittedly, after playing the entire thing, I think the first zone isn't one of the best ones. It is kind of like confusing, and you don't have a map nor a compass when you start. And so it's kind of just like getting lost down there, which maybe on purpose, right? Like the whole point of the game is like all these characters got drawn down into the darkness and got lost, right? And so it might be trying to drive that home, but still it is like compared to later parts where it's like so clear, like I know where my abilities are, where the edges of this map are, and sort of how to exploit that and where to go and how to explore in a way that like makes sense. But the first part's just like, I don't know, go figure it out, dude. And so it's
go do it.
Yeah, it's a little confusing at first, but yeah, good fucking God. Anyway, I had played it first, bounced, and then I think I had talked to you about it, and you had played it, and you're like, hey, this game bangs. I don't know what you're doing. You need to play this.
So hard.
It's really good. And so like I was like, okay, I guess I'll like try this out, and got, I think, through that like first boss, the false knight or whatever, the dude who has like the kind of the mace that he swings around.
Yep.
His little puffy head comes out of the armor. And got into like green path or whatever that is, the second zone essentially.
Oh, so good.
And was like, oh, okay, no, yeah, this game is incredible, and like just blasted through the rest of it.
And then you found out they have an arena mode.
Yeah, and then I found the Coliseum and got stuck there for about 10 hours and then beat the game after that. Yeah, it's really, really good, this video game. For, I guess, people who haven't played it, I guess we should explain sort of what this is. It is one of the better Metroidvanias that have come out, period.
Yeah.
I think like
it's an all-time Metroidvania.
Yeah, I can't think of a lot that are, really even come close other than Metroids and Vanias. So, yeah, it's sort of like the tone of it's kind of dark and gloomy. Just the map itself is very like grayscale. At least initially, it doesn't stay that way, but the world is supposed to be kind of like blasted and barren. Very, very Dark Souls in the way that like the tone is set, like the world is explained, where like it seems like at some point this place was cool, but it's like so shitty now, and there's like nobody here. Yeah, which is really cool. I feel like in another game that we'll talk about later, the lack of people and stuff in a video game is like kind of a bad thing, but I feel like Dark Souls and Hollow Knight especially turn that on its head, and they're like, no, there's a reason why it's like empty and hollowed out in here, and why you're only encountering enemies hollowed out in here, because like the world is like fucked, and that's like the reason. And I think that makes a lot of sense and like kind of makes it a better game for that. So yeah, I don't know exactly what else to say, just because I'm still kind of early in the game, but like the art's incredible, the storytelling is really good. I don't think I gleaned nearly as much the first time through. I think I was just like, I just kind of want to play this game. But yeah, it's really like fun, and like I said, very Dark Souls in the way that it's explaining like the what's his name, the like dude who is like I guess, I don't know, the mayor or whatever of the, what is it, Dirtmouth? Is that the name of the...
Yeah, the town on the surface.
Yeah, like he's the only person there, and he's like, everybody fucking left and like went down to try and find their dreams or whatever. Like that description's pretty cool, and like isn't an explanation of the blow by blow what has happened in this world, but is a really cool, just high level, like there's a curse here and that's what's happening. And so it's, I don't know,
it is cursed.
I found that just very, very cool. Combat's great, movement's great. I'm gonna keep playing it. Like it's just so fucking good.
So good.
There have been many a podcast about Hollow Knight, so if you need to listen to those, feel free. But I'm enjoying my playthrough of this right now.
My biggest disappointment from E3 was
I know,
no Silk Song info.
It's God.
Settle.
It's out there. It's out there somewhere.
It exists on somebody's hard drive somewhere. I know. And I cannot access it.
I really want to play this video game. I don't know. Like, I worry about hyping shit up too much, but like, I don't know. Like, there's not that many people in this. If they just made literally more Hollow Knight, I'd be like, yeah, perfect. Like,
it would still be good.
That's really good for me. I'm totally cool with that. They don't need to make it like the groundbreaking work that the first Hollow Knight was.
I don't think it will be, but it's going to be damn
Probably
good.
Not. Yeah, I'm totally cool if it's just more of the same. I think like the storytelling and the world's building that they do, almost said worldization, Jesus. The world building that they do is just so outstanding, and like really makes you, or it allows you to like sink into the world that in a way that I don't find very common in a lot of games, and in a lot of games that sort of purport themselves to be kind of like dark. Like the game is dark, but every character you run into is like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, I'm just making maps down here, or like, oh, I'm the shop. Yeah, I'm the shopkeep. I forgot where I was until you showed up. Or like, I'm the bug who collects gems and shit. Like, it's all very happy-go-lucky, while the background, the foreground of the game is kind of fun, but the background is like really dark and intense, and like nobody's alive anymore down there. So like, it's nuts. So I think that combo is really, really cool. And again, in the same way that Dark Souls kind of is. all the people that you run into are fucking weird and like very odd characters laughing at weird parts of their dialogue that they're like talking to themselves and shit.
You gotta be a little weird to survive an apocalypse.
If you're gonna be an old Yarnum, you must lose your mind a little. The hunt has taken my brain.
I still have no idea what happened in that game. It was fun as hell, but I've got no idea what happened.
Yeah, both you and I played it recently, and we still have no idea.
And yet I still want a sequel.
Yeah, no, I will take more. This will all bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week, David.
Uh-huh.
It is the GBA renaissance that we are going through right now.
GBA renaissance.
Nintendo had their press conference last week at E3, and they announced just a slew of very good video games that I was really not expecting.
I was pretty impressed by their E3, to be honest.
I was like expecting, like I said last week, about 30 minutes of Mario Golf and then a black screen that said, hey, I guess we're making Link to the Past, or Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But no, they showed off a bunch of shit. Anyway, the things that I'm most excited for, a brand new WarioWare game. Whoa. On the Switch.
We spoke it into existence once again.
Seriously, I love that. I also saw very lengthy clips of Wario talking. Which is similar to the DS
Once
game
again, terrifying.
It's very scary, unsettling. Also, Metroid Dread looked fucking good. Looks like a good video game.
I'd play that.
Supposedly, it's sort of like, a spiritual successor to Metroid Fusion, where you're being pursued by another, like, Samus, essentially. Mm-hmm. And also, which I think I'm the most excited about, a remake of the first and second Advanced Wars, which
I thought about you when I saw that.
Thrilled. I just played these games literally like a few months ago, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'll do that again. Don't worry, I'll play that again.
I got you, Nintendo. I got you.
Don't worry, I'll buy it. Don't worry. So yeah, excited about all of those. Also, if our listeners are not already listening, Into the Aether Season 4 is coming out, and they're doing a GBA extravaganza. This will it will already be out by the time that this episode is out. So go listen to them, because I bet that episode...
what's Into the Aether, Chase?
Into the Aether is another, as they describe, low-key video game podcast about video games. It's actually in the title. I didn't have to say that part.
A low-key video game podcast about video games, you don't say.
That's just my personal twist. I think, again, it isn't out when we're recording it, but it will be when this is out. The things that they've said about it is that they're just going to like they played essentially like a shitload of GBA games and are going to run down some of their favorites, which love that. Love that. So anyway, GBA Renaissance right now.
GBA was fucking great, though.
It's really good. There's a lot of I feel like because it was not a particularly expensive thing to develop for, like you didn't need a lot to develop for that. It was
look at Legacy of Goku.
Look at it. It was made by three people and maybe their dog too. So it's like because it wasn't particularly expensive to develop for.
Aria of Sorrow. I just
looked up good GBA games.
Best GBA games on Google.
What's nuts is that there's so many that are classics, but a bunch that are just like, hey, this game was really inventive and cool. Like games that aren't necessarily totally good. It's sort of the indie console of its time.
Ooh. Golden Sun.
Golden Sun bangs.
Even the Mario Kart that was on there was pretty good. To be quite honest, because you just need those the shoulder buttons. Mm-hmm. Once you get the shoulder buttons, things really ratchet out. Wario Land 4.
Good one.
All the Castlevanias, Harmony of Dissonance, Aria of Sorrow. Oh my god.
All of those were good.
Bring me back, baby.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm living for this GBA renaissance that we're currently living through.
I love it.
Yep. David, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism this week?
I do.
What is it?
It's a good narrator.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
They're maybe a little bit sassy.
Sure.
A little bit sweet.
Yeah.
A little bit critical, but a little bit nice.
Sure. Which one are you thinking of while you're describing this?
The one that made me really think of it was the narrator from Disco Elysium,
who
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Whoever did the narration for this game, hats off to you. You did great. You really did good.
Yeah, sure.
Just a great gravitas to the voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just bringing a lot of weight to the ridiculous things he's saying. Mm-hmm. Very well done.
Yep.
Also thinking about the narrators from both the Divinities that I played.
Mm-hmm.
Divinity Original Sins 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Narrator in both those games was quite good.
Sure.
So yeah, thinking back earlier,
mm-hmm.
God of War 1, 2, and 3 who was a famous actress. She was the narrator for those games.
Was it Athena in that game?
No, it was Linda Hunt.
No, but I mean the character in the game.
She was Gaia.
Gaia. Oh, I didn't remember this.
Yeah, she was Gaia. She was the Titan Gaia.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, you're right. That was a good one.
But
really pulled it together.
She was great.
Yeah.
But just a good narrator.
Yeah,
is
totally.
A really critical and amazing way to make a game feel more profound.
Totally.
You know, if someone can just nail that role.
Definitely adds like to the whole vibe. Like allows you to experience the narrative a little bit more. Bastion is definitely what comes to mind for me.
Bastion, okay.
Just because like it kind of twisted some of that narration stuff where like even if you died they'd be like, well, that's not how it actually worked or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel like Fable had a good narrator.
Fable did have a good one. You're totally
They were
right.
kind of sassy.
Yeah.
Sassy narrator.
Darkest Dungeon had a good one. It's like pretty spooky and scary. Oh, the Stanley Parable. Fucking duh. That one's really great. Like, Stanley Parable in general is really great, but like they do such a cool job with the narration in that one. It very, very Bastion-y in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry in Little Big Planet was pretty charming. How like he just sort of like narrated over what was going on in there was pretty great. I love that. It definitely sets a vibe.
Oh, that is a great narrator.
It's good stuff. Anyway, Dave, do you want to move on to our main thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool, let's do it. Hello, David. It's Good Games.
Hello. We're back.
We're back. It's the segment where we talk about all the okayest games of yesteryear and then gush all the things that we love about them. Find the fun, damn it.
Find the fun. F the F.
F that F.
F the F, baby. That's what we always say here at Podtimism.
Yeah, we've been saying it for 66 episodes the whole time.
66 F's. F and the F? 66 F's, F and the F.
Rolls right off the tongue.
That's a t-shirt right there.
So we, I actually don't know what caused you to suggest doing this one. Did you have a thought behind the game that we're going to be doing?
It's just funny looking at you right now because it looks like your microphone is a hat, and then the rest of the mic, the mic stand is a hat, and the rest of the mic is like a mask that's covering just one eye. So you look very mysterious right now.
What caused you to do this game, David? My podcast.
My podcast? I was thinking about this game.
Yeah.
Because I remember it being an okay game.
Yes,
back
definitely.
in the day.
Yes.
Was pretty hyped up.
Yep.
Did some good things.
Yep.
But also missed the mark on a couple areas.
Yes.
This was definitely like a Gamefly game for me.
Definitely.
And I feel like most of the games I got from Gamefly fit for this segment.
Definitely. Yeah. And like we've been talking, I feel like we've been broadening our horizons a little bit to talk about just like good games at this point here. But like I think the core idea is still like if we have a game that's like fine, then we'll bring that one. So we're doing the 2006 release Black, the first-person shooter. Let me, before we get too far into it, hit you with a couple of those good hot stats. Yes.
I'm ready.
Hot stats.
This game, Black, came out in February 28th of 2006. A little bit later than I was expecting, honestly. Like, I was like, I thought it came out earlier than that. And I think that's just like in comparison to some of the shit that had come out around then.
Sure.
This was made by Criterion Games.
Burnout fame.
Of Burnout. Yeah, I was looking at like what they've done. And like there's some shit that they did, namely Trick Style for the Dreamcast. Love that. So Criterion was mostly the Burnout company up to this point. Like they had other games that like did well, but like most of the big mainline Burnout games, other than Burnout Paradise, had come out by this point. Like Takedown was out, which to me is like sort of the
pinnacle. Yeah,
the big one. Although I have heard, I don't think I actually played Paradise. I heard that one was also very good.
I played it. It lost a little bit of its zhuzh by becoming an open world, but it was still good.
Yeah, sure enough. So supposedly they had done a little bit of work, like some outsourced work for Battlefront and Battlefield games, the DICE video games. I don't exactly know what their role was. I think there was some reference to them doing some of the Battle Royale stuff for Battlefield, but they essentially were just like doing work for other companies at that point. But in 2006, they were mostly the Burnout folks. And so they had announced that they wanted to make a first-person shooter. And I think the expectation was they're going to make a kind of first-person shooter that is as fun as Burnout. Because so much of Burnout was like, just like make a mess of shit, you know?
Balls to the wall, go as fast as you can, and just create destruction.
Yeah, and they were really good at that. They made those games feel so good, and like your crashes felt incredible and like simulated in a way that wasn't present in a lot of other games.
Yeah, a big draw of those games was the fact that your car would take damage throughout the game, and that was just not something that a lot of games did or did well back then, especially when you would get in these gigantic wrecks and you would see other cars like plowing into your car and just how it would smush into like a little car bits was very satisfying and kind of a hallmark of the series.
Definitely. And so I think that context is important to keep in mind when this was coming out, because there was so much of that history. Like, I'm pretty sure Takedown was like a hit.
Takedown was huge, yeah.
And so like, I think the context was like, holy shit, they're about to do something really great with this first-person shooter. This was also like contextually around, you know, I think, when was it? Half-Life 2 had been out for like a couple of years. You're correct. It was November of 2004.
And here we are in 2021.
I know, almost 20 years later.
It's never happening.
No, definitely not. I think the dream that a lot of folks were chasing on consoles was like, make a game that is as fun physically as Half-Life 2 was on PC. Because so much of that game was like, the physics simulation was so fun, and like, you saw that clip of Morgan Freeman?
Gordon?
Good Lord. My brain is leaking out of my ears. Gordon picking up the can and like throwing it into the garbage. Remember, like that was...
Morgan Freeman could be in Half-Life 2. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you know, you never know. He doesn't talk. So who knows? But you saw that clip a lot of like, look at the physics. You can pick up a can and move it. Whereas like in games before that, especially first-person shooters, it was just shooting. And so like that level of physical simulation wasn't there. And so when a company like Criterion, who is good at physically simulating car damage, was like, we're making a shooter, and a lot of the marketing around it was like, you can blow anything up and destroy anything. Like,
yeah, the big thing was destructible environments.
Yeah.
Environments that would respond to any sort of bullet damage or gun damage or explosion damage that you put on it.
Right, which like was a high promise at this point.
Yeah.
And I think it was sort of like the dragon that a lot of companies were chasing. Fully destructible, totally destroyable shooting environments.
I mean, yeah, this was back in the day when the medium was still somewhat young.
Yeah.
To where like a basic change in the game engine like this was something that you would market and be like, this is gonna be a game changer, guys.
I honestly think that's just an echo of how much of a game changer Half-Life 2 was for the shooters. Like, so much of a graphical upgrade, so much of a physics upgrade, and like clearly, right, like the source engine was something that a lot of people used for years and years and years. Stanley Parable is a source engine game, so like,
really,
yeah, it was.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was like, I'm not sure if it was a Gary's Mod thing or not, but it was definitely, I'm pretty sure, made in source. So anyway, hold on, before we get too far, I do have a review from Joe Video.
Let's hear it.
So I have run through this review from our friends at Joe Video through Google Translate as many times as I could find, through as many languages as I could find, and spat it back out in English to arrive at our final review. This is a good one. I like this one.
Okay.
Joe had to say on the topic of the video game Black, they said, "My friend, I like a black dress." Surprisingly, FPS frames are chosen for a simple game where you can turn into circles, relying on entertaining with destructive desires. Sorry, period. The AI game smeared with varnish. Daisy was so stressed that she ended up exhausted from the visitors. A combination of 1 or 2 natural remedies can solve this problem and prolong your life. 65 out of 100. This one felt more like poetry than others have to me.
This one was all over the place.
The whiplash of the game AI smeared with varnish and then suddenly diving into this other character, Daisy, and how she was so stressed that she ended up exhausted from the visitors. Very evocative. Like, just your mind's got both, like, all this imagery clashing at once.
What was Daisy doing?
And who are the visitors?
Who were the visitors?
And then they say that if the combination of one of those remedies can solve my life or prolong.
One or 2.
Yeah, maybe 2.
Of those remedies.
You never know.
Maybe it takes 2 for you. Who knows?
So yeah, 65 out of 100. Joe thought this one was okay. So we've been through sort of the context. We mentioned that the marketing around this, I feel like, was such a big deal. And that was kind of like when I'm thinking of this video game, definitely the marketing is what I think of.
It was a very hyped game.
Very hyped. Like the promises were pretty high. And this, like, it's nuts because this game feels so like almost out of time, because like Half-Life 2 had already come out. Halo was out. All these like very, very good shooters were out. And I think Modern Warfare was not far off. I feel like that was either 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, it was coming.
And so like that was pretty significant unto itself. And like, not to mention the shooters that would come out in just like 4 years would be really significantly different than this. You know, a 2010 shooter compared to this is significant. And so like,
oh yeah,
it's very weird to think about, you know, what this game actually delivered compared to its promises, and then look at what other games delivered 5 years from now and how it was sort of treated as common knowledge almost, that like destruction was a part of the game. Could you just do a little background on what actually happens in this game? Like what kind of game this is?
So this is just pretty standard first-person shooter. You are like a CIA operative.
Yep.
Like Black Ops man.
Yep.
That's why it's called Black, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you go around shooting terrorists.
Yeah, shooting dudes.
In first person in different locales throughout the world. Yeah. That's about the gist of it. Honestly, that's about it. Different guns at different locations. You can only carry 2 guns at a time.
That is true. It's got health packs.
It's got health packs. It's got grenades. It's pretty basic. Yep. What was the draw was the destructible environments.
Yes.
And then also the accuracy of the gun.
Yes.
They're very realistic, very loud.
Oh my
God. The gun
God.
that you use in particular is so loud every time, because they spent a lot of time like recording actual guns and putting it into the game in high fidelity sound clips.
It is incredibly loud.
Incredibly loud, your gun in this game, but pretty realistic and interesting. It definitely gives you a sense of viscerality.
Yeah, for sure. This game is on Game Pass, so I actually played a bit of this yesterday.
Oh, damn.
Yes, it is incredibly loud. Like, I plugged in my headphones and like it was playing and I was like, Jesus, like it's just like in my ear all night. I'm like, I need to turn this down to prevent further ear damage that has already been stricken on my ears. So, but it was really interesting to play this again in 2021, like the context of now, and given how just vividly I remember the marketing around this and how it purported itself to be like a fully destructible first-person shooter. I don't remember if they promised you can take down buildings, but I feel like they did.
That was kind of like the implication. You could take down like bits of a wall.
Yeah.
Or like bits of a support beam.
Yes. I was furiously testing this yesterday. Like, okay, what's actually like destructible in this game? Because I was curious, right? Like there are games now that do this and it's like kind of commonplace, you know, like physics are not nearly as complicated as they were back then. Like we pretty much got a handle on it, right? Like it's expensive graphically, like you do have to figure that out, but like Unreal and Source and all sorts of like all these engines, they kind of take care of that for you. And so if you're making an indie game, you can feasibly make pretty good physics. Like you can make a destructible environment. It's just about up to how much you want to like polish those assets at that point. In this game, some of the world is destructible. Like there are bits that are destructible. I think
predetermined pieces of the world are destructible.
I'd like in hindsight, that's what's going on, is like they found a handful of things that they're like, this is the part that blows up, or this is the part that will come apart if you shoot at it. So like, you know, anything that might be able to blow up definitely can blow up. Like all of the cars, there's a ton of like gas tanks that you can shoot, and it will have like a pretty big effect on like a building next to it, which is fun. Like they're almost like set pieces. Like you'll run up on it and be like, okay, there's an enemy base in here, and there's a gas tank next to every single one of the buildings. So like, you know, do it, do the thing. It's not something where it's like you're trying to use this stuff sort of intelligently. It's like, blow it up. We know you want
to. See what our engine can do.
Yeah. And like, I think in comparison to something like Burnout, I feel like Burnout was challenging you sometimes to figure out the best way to cause destruction. You know, like, it wasn't just like, do the thing that we know you want to do. It was like, well, how are you actually going to make this jump and then hit the car that you need to or something.
Yeah.
Or like essentially do all these sort of challenges, whereas this one was much more like just shoot it, dude. You know, like we know you want to shoot the thing, just shoot it.
Yeah. Just shoot it, baby.
So it was interesting. Like there was a bunch of signs in like the second level, I think it was. Most of this takes place in like Eastern Europe, and so it's like a vaguely, you know, Russian sort of country. I don't remember if it was an actual real place. I sort of was like, it's just fucking Eastern Europe. It's fine. My brain sort of tuned out when they started doing the FMV cutscenes.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there's like these big signs that you can shoot them and they will sort of break into pieces. And so you can, you know, shoot off different bits of it. But from so far as I could tell, it looks like they were breaking in pretty predefined ways. So like if you shot one block of it, it's not like it was responding to your direction and sort of, you know, what gun you're using. It was just like, okay, you shot this part falls off. And if you shot this part falls off, and sort of like that sort of stuff where it's much more like hand programmed rather than like an actual simulation. So it was interesting playing through all that stuff. All that said, do you want to gush about this game? Like what made or makes this game fun? I think that there is stuff in there. It's just a little bit deeper.
Honestly, the viscerality of the guns was well done. Like, they are comically loud.
Yes, yeah.
But the amount of detail that they put into, like, the renderings of the gun, quite nice.
Yeah.
Quite nice. It does feel nice when you get to blow up a wall, shoot through a wall to shoot someone else, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In the predetermined areas that you were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So that was fun. So those are the two things that I really stuck out to me from what I remember as what was fun with the game. Yeah. What about you? You've played it more recently, so what stuck out to you?
Yeah, I agree with you there that like that's the stuff that stuck out in remembering this game. Like what was fun about it then. It was definitely a gameplay game. Like it's not very long, right? Like I think there's 8 levels, and I got through I think 4 of them yesterday. So I didn't play for very long. So like it's not a huge game. Which I read in some of the reviews was like, it's not long enough. I'm like, God, I don't give a shit. Like, it's fine. Like, especially when it's now on Game Pass. Like, it was literally free.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I have no issue with that, especially now. But, yeah, it was a visceral game. It was very, like, attempting to be, like, an arcade shooter, which I don't think was necessarily the tone at the time. When I think about the games of, like, you know, this came out in 2006, like, BioShock was like a year later or something like that. Modern Warfare was not that far off. Call of Duty had already been putting out games for a little while. And like the tone of those was all so serious and like very like we got shit to say kind of video games.
Yeah.
And this one is there, right? Like they do invoke some sort of like hoorah militaristic nonsense that like I was like kind of glazing over when they started saying that stuff. And like I didn't play the whole story, so like maybe the dude didn't do bad, but like the game starts with like an interrogator being like, you could go to prison for all your fucking war crimes. I'm like, I don't know.
No, we're going to declassify all the terrible shit you've done if you don't do what we say. It's like, I've done a lot of terrible shit, so I guess I got to do this.
Do I need to be tried by like The Hague? Like, am I a war criminal? Because I don't know if I want to be playing that dude.
Yeah.
And so like that part of it doesn't age quite as well. I think, you know, a lot of the shooters at the time were definitely invoking the fucking like sort of nonsensical American colonialism that comes with a lot of the hoorah video shooting games that like maybe tacitly sort of tries to criticize it, but it like at the end of the day you're still playing as the soldier and you're the hero, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's there. But I do think that because the game itself was it plays like an arcade game, and I think there's something to be said for that is pretty fun in itself, like just to kind of, you know, shoot and blow stuff up. That's fun. I know that like I do think that there are games that use that sort of design ethos that are not cool. Like I mean I think Modern Warfare is not that far off, right? Like it's a stone's throw away from what's going on in this video game, but I think it takes itself just seriously enough that like is a little bit more painful to play through, and like it does feel like when it's trying to simulate the real world but also trying to be an action movie, it does start to feel a little bit worse, whereas like this one was kind of just trying to be an action movie, like I don't know, fucking Jason Bourne or something like that. Like
it was pretty over the top. Like I was watching some of the cutscenes, I'm like, the guy is in the dark room, everything's kind of like cut in a way that you can't really make heads or tails of anybody's face, and he like smokes a cigarette and you see the smoke coming out. It's like, okay, it's a little over the top.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I think that there's a place for like pulp entertainment in video games, something that isn't taking itself all that seriously, especially in a game that knows it doesn't need to. Like, if you're just here to blow shit up, dude, like we don't gotta have that much story for you. We just need to get you into the fucking video game.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, I can definitely appreciate that. I think that stuff is easier to see in hindsight. I think kind of at the time you are sort of swept up in the hype cycle, and you're swept up in like just literally the context of the moment, right? Like, it's hard to see out of until it's much later, and you can sort of look and point and say like, well, this is this kind of thing that was coming out, or this is kind of similar to those movies, or like, but at the time it's all just sort of one big blob of entertainment. So it's hard to say like what is or isn't.
Yeah.
But it does feel much easier to say like now, like, that this is an arcade pulp sort of video game. I also was like, it's an interesting artifact. Like, it is interesting to look at it from this like hype cycle sort of idea, and like what people were reaching for at the time. Like, I think Black is not necessarily a fun video game to play. Like, I was like, okay, I'm pretty much done with the game last night. But it's really interesting to just like view where the game industry was at, and like what was unreachable at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I think like we do take a lot of this for granted around the like simulation of physics, and like how far those kind of games have come.
Definitely.
And like how big of a swing they were taking with this.
They were really swinging for the fences, honestly.
Yeah, and like what they were swinging for, I think, is sort of the indication of like where games were at, right? Like, what were they trying to do? They were trying to make a fun shooter that was very much simulating the destruction that you were able to cause. Very mid 2000s video games, very like power fantasy sort of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that they weren't able to get there with a lot of the like physics stuff. Like, they kind of had to hard code a lot of this stuff, and had to, you know, put specific points where you could be destructive and stuff like that. And so it doesn't feel nearly as like interactive as the Burnouts did. It's not as much of a like, here's this world and system that we've created. It's just like, well, you know, run down the hallway and do the shooting thing.
Also, was it just me, or was like, for a game that was made by people who did a racing game, did you feel like pretty slow, like walking around and moving around?
That was the first thing I noticed when I booted it up. Was I started moving my cursor, and I was like, oh, there has to be a way to speed this up. And there wasn't. Like, usually that you can adjust the sensitivity on your like right stick, but it's like, nah, dog, you just got to swing this big fucking tank arm around.
It really is kind of slow.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know like what the point of that was. And maybe that just wasn't the standard at the time to be able to like modify that. It certainly wasn't in like GoldenEye or something like that.
Oh,
you know?
Definitely not. Yeah. And
so like, yeah, it did feel slow. Your physical movement, you weren't like really able to go very quickly. And this is like a total sidebar, and like, it's kind of a nitpick. It feels kind of specific, but when you reload, the depth of field goes really short, and you can only see your gun. Yeah, at the time it looked kind of impressive, because like, I think like games just weren't really fucking around with depth of field very much. And so it looked like visually kind of cool. But in hindsight, it's much harder to deal with. So like, the whole of the background gets blurred. And so like, something I kept trying to do was like, I would be shooting somebody, run out of my clip and be like, okay, I need to keep an eye on where they are, which is like something I do kind of unconsciously, I think, in shooters. But you'll have to reload, and it just like absolutely blurs everything on the screen.
Just like, look at this gun we've rendered.
I think so. Like, it was supposed to look very cool, and like, you know, look at the lighting that we're doing. And so it like sort of makes you unable to see what's going on in the background, which again slows the game down. Like, I have to kind of like take a beat if I'm shooting from far away and be like, okay, like where did the dude go that I was just shooting at?
Where am I now?
Yeah. Anyway, so the point being with like the thought there was just like, it's an interesting temperature check from just like what was happening in video games at the time. Because when you kind of get caught up at looking at these like classics, right? Like Modern Warfare 2, it's like a lot of that is almost out of time, because either you have preconceived notions of it, or you have the sort of cultural zeitgeist around that stuff and being like, it's a great game, so good, like all that sort of stuff. And like, it's hard to get a clearer picture of what was going on in the games industry. And I feel like it's much easier with these games that are kind of like, you know, miss the mark a little bit, because it's showing what it's reaching for, and like when it doesn't hit that, it's much clearer.
Yeah.
Versus like in Modern Warfare 2, it's like this still feels pretty good. It's just sort of all the other stuff that hasn't aged as well.
It's just not quite there.
Yeah, versus like in this game, it doesn't feel as good, and sort of like the destructive part of it's they really lean on, and by comparison to 2021, it's not nearly as intense. We just looked at a scene where you're essentially trying to like snipe these dudes in a graveyard, and like your little partner's like, oh, you gotta shoot the headstones, you gotta destroy the headstones. So like the intent is like shoot them so they don't have a place to go hide. It's like that's cool, but is that a full game? Like not necessarily compared to like Burnout or something, So I didn't find myself like loving the minute-to-minute gameplay, but I did find looking at it very interesting, and like being able to think about what this game was actually doing and saying as sort of a reflection of what was happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting reflection of the time of video games that it was a part of.
Yeah. And like with, this definitely happens in like movie making or like writing or anything like that, right? Like the way that you make it is definitely influenced by the time that you're in, right? Like this isn't specific to games. What was happening in 80s movies and 70s movies is also as important as how those movies were being made. And you could definitely see like what, the technology was and all that sort of shit. And like, how the CGI and sort of some of the 90s movies look like shit. And like it doesn't age nearly as well and that sort of stuff. But it is an interesting way into the games industry, just because a lot of those sort of struggles are kind of specific to video games, like
definitely
the drive to try and want to simulate physics is
that's a game thing.
Yeah, it's a game thing.
Especially when you're trying to simulate physics that then someone else is going to try and just play around with.
Yeah, definitely.
Not like a movie where it's like, oh, we're totally in control of this. It's like you're letting someone else into the playground to try to muck around.
And I think a lot of that stuff is sort of like, trickery a lot of the time, right? Like the Unreal Engine stuff, whenever you destroy something, it's definitely pulling some fast ones on you to be like, okay, so this looks pretty real, but like, we're cutting these corners to make sure it stays, at a reasonable frame rate, like essentially just like making it easier for you. Or even, I saw this GIF of Horizon Zero Dawn where it was showing how it paints the world that you're like seeing. It was just like Aloy's field of view.
As you're scanning around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like rendering just the part of the world that you're actually looking at. And so like, it has to do that sort of stuff, but the magic tricks just aren't quite as impressive in this one. And so it's interesting to see them striving for something more, but not getting there, and especially not getting there now.
Yeah.
But yeah. I like, this is a good game. I like this game. It was fun to play through. I think that there is, especially with these like much older games, there is still a lot of value that isn't just, I'm having a good time, I'm having fun. Like that isn't always the value in these. And I think it is fun to sort of like poke around the edges.
Gotta see what's going on.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it for that reason, David.
It was fun. It was fun to shoot. It's always fun to shoot, baby. Even
in America, you know how it be.
Even if it be a little slow.
That is true. Cool. Do you have any other thoughts about Black?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool. Hello, listener, and David. Hi. Hey. I wanted to step into this corridor to inform you that we are on Twitter. We are at Podtimism. That is the handle. What else? If you would like to email us, we have an email at vgpodtimism@gmail.com.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I must not have tried to get just at podtimism@gmail. I feel like there's no way that somebody had that one already.
You just did an attempt.
I was like, I got to be specific. There's going to be so many other podcasts named Podtimism.
Who knows?
Let's see. If you would like to help the show, easy, or maybe not easy, depending on what your internet connectivity is, a thing you can do is review us on Apple Podcast or whatever the fuck podcast outlet you have, and tell them the truth about your experience with Podtimism.
Mince no words.
We don't need your word mincing. We don't need any of that. So yeah, that's a great way to help out. You can also show a friend of yours, say, hey, I like this podcast. It's about a bunch of boys who are hot in their room. I'm very physically warm.
I'm getting pretty stuffy in here too. I'm starting to fall asleep. It's so humid in this little closet.
Maybe you can tell them it's a podcast about hot boys.
Oh,
That is true this episode.
I'm gonna have to describe how hot I am
Nobody asked you to, but if you would like to.
physically. Where am I
certainly
feeling
can.
hot?
I mean, yeah, you give it a go, David.
I feel hot on my scalp.
My body.
I have thick hair. My head is very warm.
Yeah, I bet your noggin's pretty hot. That's true.
My noggin is burning right now.
Anyway, so Hot Boy Pod is their new podcast name. And you can describe that to your friends as such.
Hot boy summer, baby.
It's, oh man. Is this what it means?
Yeah.
This is what it meant.
This is really what it meant.
So yeah, also, most importantly, hey, thanks. Thanks for listening to this. We appreciate you being here and spending your time with us as much as we enjoy spending the time with both you and each other. It's a podcast for two best friends.
For other best friends.
So yeah, fuck yeah. David, wait. I wasn't done saying thanks. I feel like I just need to say one more thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're
Ear
the best.
minutes and the such.
And such. We love and support you. It's almost 10 o'clock. We got to wrap this fucker up.
Yeah.
David, do you have video game wisdom?
Yes. If you're playing video games and the room you're in gets very hot, get up. Go outside or something. It's probably cooler out there than it is inside because you've just been playing games for the last 5 hours. Probably really
heat.
warmed up your room with your TV and your console.
And your body.
And your body. You know, maybe go stick your head in the freezer for a second. Get a cold glass of water. Fuel up. Bring down that core body temp so you can game harder, baby.
That sounded like a mid-2000s ad for like balls
Balls?
energy drink. Yeah, exactly. It's always balls. Dip your head in the freezer. Go so you can get your gaming fuel back on, dude.
Balls energy.
Balls energy drink is a real product.
It's funny because it says balls, but
we
with
spell
a
it
W.
with a W.
So bad. So ridiculous. And now we just gave Balls Energy Drink free advertising. So who's the real fools?
If there is a human person who is drinking balls in 2021, I need to talk to them. We got to have a discussion.
They're out there. They're still they're sponsoring esports, baby.
Are these people okay? Has there been a long-term study on people who have drank balls since the 90s? It gives them superpowers. They actually turn into Viltrumites and are able to fucking fly around the sky.
Oh man, now we're getting comic book nerd in here.
Hey baby.
Hey baby.
Invincible's a good show. I watched it all in
Invincible
a couple of
bangs.
days.
It's good. Good show.
End of episode.
Okay, bye.
Bye.